Good morning.
Good morning.
We're here at Elysian Fields back. If you have been tuning in with us for a little bit, this is a familiar face. This is Greg Martins, our ET specialist, retired aerospace engineer for NASA. Worked there for 35 years. We had him back, I feel like it was even last fall maybe. Time is so wild.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit. But we are so lucky to have him back. For anyone in our community that has ever been curious about ETs, also known as extraterrestrials, maybe even watched a Men in Black movie one time, but join us here. We are taking live questions. We kind of want this to be more of a discussion, getting to know Greg, and getting to know what you're curious about. So this whole discussion, we'll be chit-chatting a little bit, but the purpose is for you to leave your questions in the comments so that our expert here can answer them. So, Greg, getting to know you a little bit, you have been here in Sarasota for about 2 years.
Yeah.
What brought you down here?
Well, let's see. I retired 2 years ago. I wanted to live down here because it's such a beautiful area, and the consciousness in Sarasota is a nice level. I mean, look at the bookstore here, right? And there's other stores like this around, and conscious people, and Florida doesn't have any state income tax.
Yeah, okay, there's that too.
Yeah, there's that too. So I'm very happy to be here.
Energetically, I've heard that the crystal quartz sand on Siesta Beach kind of raises the vibration. Have you heard about that?
Well, I have heard that.
Yeah.
And is it the same on Lido?
It's different.
Same kind of sand?
I think it's different on Lido.
Okay. But what I have noticed too when I first came down here was that the energy vibration is higher here. I was in Maryland, near Annapolis, and when I came here, I found that being on Lido and then being on the mainland, it was a different vibration. It was easier to be intuitive in this area.
That I had a feeling that I've heard that before, so that's so fascinating.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, let's see. I've always had a connection to the stars. I started on the metaphysical path when I was in high school. I've got involved in Native American traditions and Lakota Sioux traditions in the mid-'80s, and I've always stayed connected. That feels very natural and supportive to me as a spiritual foundation, the Native traditions in Lakota ways. Like, I feel like I'm at home when I'm in a sweat lodge. Sweat lodge is ceremony for purification and prayer.
So that's why you moved to Florida.
Yeah.
Sweating all the time.
Sweating, yeah, that's it. No. Let's see. Got into the ET thing because it was so natural for me. I was 9 years old looking up at the stars every night from my porch in Massachusetts where I grew up. I always felt it's got to be life out there, and things evolved from that. And there was a time in my life where I asked God if my interest in the stars was something special for me to pay attention to, or that everybody kind of thought that way. And within 3 months, there were 3 different elders that said to me, "You're connected to the stars. Pay attention. It's part of your soul calling." And one of them even used the words, "You're like an ambassador between worlds." And that's how I've seen my life evolve, and doing the intuitive readings I do to help people, people that have connections with extraterrestrials and they want to know what's going on, or they want to know where their home world is in the universe. Is it here on Earth or is it elsewhere?
Yeah.
I've been given some training by an elder in West Virginia, Leah Stansel, on how to connect in to the Akashic records and, access a person's soul record, and to be able to help them by pulling information from it, like, oh, this is what's going on with your ET connection, and or here's probably where your homeworld is. Meditate on it, see how it resonates. So I developed the skills to help people in the extraterrestrial realm, and it feels very natural for me. And the ambassador between worlds thing, that comes in because I feel like I can connect to whatever ET group I need to help a client.
Right.
They'll come in. The ET groups sometimes come in and during readings, and they'll help because they want to help their client, you know?
Okay.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, kind of that's what I've been doing.
What an invaluable, I feel like, service that you can provide someone to find out their, you know, quote unquote home outside of this realm that we know here. To find that, I feel like, that sense of belonging, or just to know more about where you come from. Is that kind of the goal of the readings that you do?
That's one type.
Okay.
If that's only what they really want, is where am I from? You know.
Yeah.
They want to get more connected. Maybe they've heard me talk about connection to the home world.
Yeah.
And what the benefits are. Not only do we tend to feel a home feeling with that world where our home world is, but it connects us to the higher part of our own consciousness. If we're connecting into our home world, that's where our oversoul resides. And the oversoul is the higher part of our consciousness. We are like offspring from the oversoul. The oversoul has many offspring, and I'm one in my oversoul. I know of another woman who has the same oversoul that I do.
Oh, that's fascinating.
We figured it out together, and it is just something for a book, you know, a little short book.
Yeah.
But, you know, how we validated and verified that, yeah, we both share the same oversoul and this concept is real it was a very tangible thing for us energetically and in a conscious way. So we get in touch with the higher part of our soul essence, and it raises our vibration when we do that, because we're tuning into the bigger part of our soul essence.
Yeah, that makes sense.
For me, it raised my chakras. All went crazy for like 2 weeks when I started to really connect into my oversoul. You know, a couple times a week, maybe 3 times a week, just trying to connect in and feel it, and it resonated right every time. And my chakras all went wonky for 2 weeks. And I told my mentor, Leah, and she said, oh, they'll calm down. It'll just take another week.
Okay.
You're just readjusting to that new kind of level of connection.
Yeah.
And so my chakras did calm down, and then I found I was a little more intuitive and sensitive energetically. And, you know, it's an evolutionary step when we connect in at that level. So there's those benefits.
And you were even mentioning before that it's also something that you need to continue to practice.
Right, yeah.
And like keep those skills, keep that connection, so it's something that you actively still work at.
Yeah, it's important for me to practice these intuitive skills. If I don't, I tend to get rusty, put it that way.
Yeah.
And I need to hone the energy channels again, because maybe they just kind of go a little dormant, you know. So working on opening my chakras on some regular basis and running some divine white light through them to help them clear, getting into those higher vibration levels. So I can do readings for folks and help, you know, find where their homeworld is, and also to help those that want to know what's going on with their ET connections, because some folks have ETs in their life, in their physical life, you know, that come and visit with them or take them out of body or take them physically, or they're involved in the hybridization program to help another ET race survive, and they know what's going on and they're scared. They want to help, some help and understanding, or they see ships in their dreams, or they feel like they've got ET connections in past lives or current life, and they're not sure what's going on. That's the kind of thing I can help people with, because I can access their soul record, the Akashic records. I have a spirit that opens the records for me, and so I'll bring him in on a reading, and then the client will share, and then he'll feed information in to help. And then
that
the others.
Translator again.
Sorry?
That kind of translating from one realm to our physical. Like you said, you're an ambassador, you're a translator, kind of.
Yeah. So an ET might come into a reading in an energy form, so we wouldn't see him. I would just sense him.
Okay.
And the ET might say what the client needs to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had an example where I gave a reading to a young woman who felt she had a lifetime where she was a reptilian, a good reptilian, and
Mm-hmm.
it was on Earth, and her job was to protect another senior military officer. She arrived too late, and he had been killed. It had to do with, some ongoing disputes or battles or whatever.
Uh-huh.
So she felt remorse in this life about
Yeah.
that. It was a bleed through, and I just by accident happened to be there talking with her and her roommate, who was a friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, do you want some help with that? Maybe I can help you
Yeah.
accessing your soul record and see what was going on, what happened,
Right.
And during that reading, at the end of breakfast, at the breakfast table, one of her, the ETs in that reptilian group came into the reading, and I could feel him come in on my right side, and he said to her, through me, he said, tell her it's not her fault. She did the best she could. We love you. Just feel free to let go of the guilt.
Mm-hmm.
We love you. You did the best you could. It wasn't your fault. You got there too late. And that really helped her.
Yeah, I imagine how healing that is to
So
get
that's the
that
ambassador
message.
between worlds kind of thing, where
Yeah.
they feel comfortable connecting to me, and I feel comfortable connecting to them. The
Yeah.
ETs,
Something you mentioned, and so I'll go into our first question. I've heard you say kind of for lack of a better term, good aliens and bad aliens, or good ETs and bad ETs. So our first question is, how do you know the difference between a positive or a negative alien?
Okay. Typically, these ETs will be in an energy form. They won't be in physical form in our face.
Okay.
So let's say we're meditating and we sense an ET. We sense a spirit come in and we feel it's definitely extraterrestrial because we see a visual in our mind's eye or something, like a gray. The typical gray head, small slit for the mouth, and the big black almond eyes.
Mm-hmm.
There are some good grays, and then there's some that aren't so good. They're not benevolent. They just don't have that heart connection, and they could be manipulative. They would want to just utilize us for their own purposes and not care about our health or our comfort or what's going on in our lives. And that's very disturbing to some people.
Yeah, that's scary. Yeah.
So how do you know? Discernment techniques that you can use would be to ask the ET a question.
Okay.
And if he just starts continually rambling on with words and doesn't address your question, that's a sign that he's not really there for your highest good.
Yeah.
And then ask him, do you love Jesus Christ? Or do you love Buddha or Krishna or Mother Mary or any of those divine beings? And just see what the response is.
Interesting.
Yeah, because if they come back with a heart response, okay, that's a clue that they are heart connected.
Uh-huh.
And if they don't, it's another indication that they may not be, okay? Because they're not giving you that resonance, that heart resonance. That's what you want if you're going to be connecting to these ETs. Or ask it, what does it want, and see what the response is. And if you just, in senses, how's the vibe feel? Does it feel kind of yucky, lower level, or does it feel heart and higher? Those are the indicators. And if you don't like what they feel like, command them to the light. And what I say is, I command you to the throne of God now in the name of Jesus Christ.
Okay.
And just say, that works. And if there's some reason why it doesn't seem to send them away, call in Archangel Michael.
Okay.
If y'all don't know who Archangel Michael is, his job is to protect the earth and protect the people. He's an archangel. And he carries the spear, or you'll see him with a sword. And call him in from your heart and your higher self. And when you feel like you got this thread of divine connection, then you know you have him on the line and say, Archangel Michael, would you take him away?
Okay. So that's something that maybe if you're doing a reading for someone and you're not getting the right answers that you're looking, you get that icky, dark feeling. That's something that you would do to alleviate this person from maybe a bad ET.
Yeah, if it was an attachment kind of like that, I would call in Archangel Michael.
Okay.
And I would tell the client, hey, I feel this around you. Would you like me to remove it?
Okay.
Because free will and choice, I need to leave the client that choice.
Yes.
They may be really comfortable with that because they've known it for so long.
Okay.
And then it's a work in progress with a client, because it may come back because they ask it to come back. So I would ask, and then they say, yeah, and then I call on Archangel Michael, and he comes and takes him away. Or I command him to the light right there, and we see how it goes. And if I feel a kind of an icky ET energy come in during a reading, which has happened a number of times, maybe 10% of the time that might happen, and I'll just send it to the light, and then I'll start over again with the connections to the Akashic records and my spirit helpers. Yeah, just kind of reboot, Send it to the light and then restart.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
And it happens. It's normal. These dark ones might come in because they want help, or they want to notice and watch, or they want to be mischievous and cause problems. So I've kind of experienced them on those several levels.
One of the other questions we got was, can you talk about shapeshifters and how to spot them?
I don't know much about that.
Okay.
Shape-shifting, that sounds like, and I'm just kind of questioning myself.
Yeah.
It sounds like a spirit that might not be ET.
Okay. That's honest.
In the Native American realm, there are shapeshifters. These are spirits that can take on different forms. Maybe just in the energy realms, higher dimensions, or other dimensions, maybe even the lower astral. Or maybe even in the physical, they can shapeshift from being an animal to a human or a bird or something. I have heard things like that from native people. I don't interact with shapeshifters.
Yeah.
I don't need to. It's not part of the world I live in or work in.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. And I don't know if they would have ET connections or not, these shapeshifters.
Okay. Interesting. So another question we got is, what's going on in different areas of the United States and their ET sightings? So, for example, can you talk about Area 51?
Well, I only know as much as the regular layman does.
Okay.
I don't know anything, that's secret and behind the scenes.
Yeah. But maybe share a little bit about people that might not be familiar.
So the question is, what's going on in the country about ET stuff in general, or?
Sure.
Okay. Well, humans on Earth are going through an evolution, a consciousness evolution. We're raising in consciousness. And this is happening whether or not people want to be brought that way, kicking and screaming and dragging, or we want to go willingly and open-heartedly. There are oppressors on the planet that want to keep us from joining that next level of light and consciousness and interdimensional awareness, higher level consciousness connections that exist on a regular daily basis. That's where we're going as a species. And it's repeatedly said by ET groups over and over that this is where we are. It's like the water that goes in a tub down the drain, and they say you're at the point right now where you're spiraling really fast at the drain, and you're about to go in. Okay, so that's where we are now. That process could take years, generations, or it could take hundreds of years.
Yeah,
we don't know how long it's going to take for folks to awaken enough to choose not to be aggressive. And then the ETs will show themselves you know, like on a physical level, more and more and more often, because they'll feel safe and comfortable doing it.
Okay.
Right? Because they don't right now, and they say, we're not going to be doing that. You know, we're not going to be in your face. You guys need to evolve.
Until they feel safe.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they stay in other dimensions, like the upper astral realm or whatever, in their ships, you know, around our Earth. We don't even see them, you know.
Okay.
They're here. We don't see them. There could be some in this room right now that are watching and assisting me and Becca with little thoughts, you know.
Okay.
That's how it works, you know, a little telepathy thing and all. And so that's basically the platform of what's going on the whole planet. Like I said, there are oppressors in this world in physical form that want to keep this stuff from happening. And it shows up more and more, I think, obviously at times now. We got people like George Soros that are obvious oppressors, and he's even said it. He's a billionaire, and he funds people's political agendas and their races, and he has said, I don't care if I destroy a country, if it gives him personal gain. He has said that on TV, you know, or in an interview. I saw it. And so folks like that, then you got ETs that are oppressors that would just love to enslave the human race, you know, like some reptilians or some greys.
Okay.
And then those the oppressive end, right? So you've got ETs that are helping prevent that, because they're like, there's no way we're going to let that happen. They say, you know?
That makes me feel better.
Yeah, there's no way we're letting that happen.
Okay.
So you've got ETs on a very high level that help prevent Earth from being misused and help human beings be protected and assisted into the light. And we're assisted on a global level and on a personal level, which is something we can get into. Like, how do the ETs help us?
Yeah.
Right? How are they helping us in our evolution? And we're at that spiraling really fast point at the drain we're about to go in, right? So we're at that point, and there's a lot of help with the ETs.
Okay.
So what we're seeing in the country is more and more sightings.
Yeah.
You know, or maybe it's just that there's more and more social media outlets that are carrying it, right? So we see
that makes sense too.
Both. I think it's both.
Right.
We're seeing
everyone has a phone in their pocket.
Yeah, and you know,
or
it gets around quick. You know, like somebody posts something and it goes viral.
Right.
So we're seeing more sightings. People are having more experiences on a personal level of ET stuff. They're remembering connections that they have with ET stuff, and it's feeling more right in their own consciousness. Let's see.
Are there certain areas of the world or in the country that have had more sightings than others?
Yeah, certainly.
Like this person was saying, like under St. Shasta or Antarctica.
You say Scottsdale? What did you say?
Under Mount
Shasta.
Yes, I just pronounced it wrong. Sorry.
Yeah, Mount Shasta. That's in California.
Okay.
And
okay.
I was there a couple of winters ago with my sister. That was very cool. Yeah, I believe that the person that asked that question is correct. That there are certain spots on the planet that are a higher vibration than others, and I think that helps them. Okay.
What other types of places other than that?
Well, Mount Shasta, Antarctica, I have heard that as well.
Okay.
I haven't really studied that a whole lot, but what's in Antarctica? It's probably very true because there's not a lot of activity down there, and they'll feel safer, and they can go underground probably. There are underground water bases.
Okay.
Like off the coast of Puerto Rico. There's
Interesting.
something in the water down there. There's a lot of ETs that are seeing UFOs going into the water and coming out. Let's see. Mount Shasta is nice. It's a hot spot for energy. I was there and I felt extraterrestrial presence there. It felt like the Hathors have a presence there, and others have said there's different beings that are there. And, you know, think in the way that ET spaceships can go in and out of our physical matter without a problem. Like they can go right into a mountain, into an area that's cleared out that normally would be rock, but it's not rock anymore. It's a UFO base. They can do that kind of thing. People have said they've seen craft go right into mountains and all.
Wow.
It's weird how they do it, but apparently they can do it. This physical matter that we have in our dimension is made up of atoms and molecules, and the atoms are spaced apart actually quite far. So there's actually a lot of space between all the atoms, and I think the ETs have figured out how to move in between those spaces.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, like in the upper astral realm, if you're out of body, I've been there a number of times, out of body, fully conscious. And like when I go through, if I'm in the upper astral realm, it looks as real as a regular physical room. That's how real it looks. It doesn't look all wispy or wonky or wavy or anything. It looks as solid as a regular room here.
Okay.
But we're in another dimension, upper astral realm. Physical laws are a little different. Like I could lean up against the wall, or I could walk through it, depending on what I needed to do, what I wanted to do. And when I would go through the wall, I'd feel the wall go through my body. So it's very cool to feel that. Or you put your hand in a mattress, if you're out of your body, put your hand into your mattress and just feel it,
Okay.
It's pretty wild. So there's an example of our energy bodies going into a physical or a higher dimensional form. There's a blending that can happen. We just can't do it in the physical world here.
Right.
We haven't figured out how to do that yet, but
That's interesting.
I think some of the masters of the Far East can do that. Walk through a wall. Other areas in the world where ETs are hanging out, in countries where they acknowledge the presence of ETs and they're comfortable with it, like in Latin American countries.
Okay. That makes sense.
Japan, Belgium, France. They have acknowledged, they're here. Let's study them. Crop circles in England, there's been a lot of activity over there over the years. There's a lot of energy lines there where the energies are particularly strong. There's the sacred temple in Israel. I can't remember what it's called.
Okay.
But it's one of the holiest places in the world, and there was a craft that was seen over that at one point, and it's actually been videotaped and it's been on TV. And where the craft, this ball of light seemed to come right down over the temple, and then it just flies up really fast.
Wow.
It's a UFO, and so what's it doing there? It's connecting in energetically,
right?
Doing something. Who knows? Maybe that's where the Ark of the Covenant is. Pretty powerful instrument. We don't know all what that's about, but holy cow.
Someone asked if the Bermuda Triangle has any significance with ETs.
Yeah.
And kind of that.
It would, yeah.
Interdimension where time and matter kind of start to fuse. Is that?
Yeah, it's a very strange place. I've seen things on TV. This is where I get my understanding, like most folks, about Bermuda Triangle.
Okay.
What's been presented on TV? There's been some great docudramas about experiences pilots have had over there. I remember, some of these guys talk about being, flying through a tunnel, and they end up getting to their destination way sooner than they normally should have. And their fuel is conserved, or they experience other things.
Right.
So my sense about that is that, there's still something active down there.
Okay, maybe something under the water, like you were talking about.
I even heard someone say there are pyramids off the coast of Florida.
Interesting.
Under the water, yeah. There's a big pyramid in Alaska, in an area kind of in the middle of the state or something, and it's not well known at all. But
and those tend to be kind of connection points.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And Area 51 was brought up. I knew a guy who worked at Area 51, and he said, there's some things going on there that involve beings from other worlds. and he said he wouldn't go into it anymore than that, because he's not supposed to, But yeah, there's things that go on there. I think that's where they bring, a lot of ET craft and they back engineer them. Robert Lazar is one of the guys who's come forward, and he said, I work there and I help back engineer ET spacecraft, work on the propulsion systems, and I believe that our country has been able to back engineer them to some degree and has craft that can negate gravity and fly around somewhat. So if we see a UFO, we don't really know now if it's made in USA or it's actually extraterrestrial, or is it from humans from our future? Or is it from our past? Like what was going on in Atlantis and Lemuria? Did the beings back then on Earth have the ability to go forward in time to our present? Were they ships made in USA, not in USA, but made in Lemuria by humans? ETs could have taught us how to do it. This is all just conjecture, but anything is possible when you think about it,
Yeah.
From an engineering standpoint.
Yeah, it can blow your mind the more you think about it.
Where are these ships coming from,
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Something, another question, and again, I might pronounce it wrong. Is there a planet or dimension Lyra or Lyra? So something that has gotten kind of popular in our world is Moldavite. And it's a certain type of tektite crystal that is said to have come from a meteorite striking Earth. And this person's curious if that came from, is it Lyra or Lyra?
Lyra.
Lyra.
At least that's how I'm used to hearing it.
Okay.
So the only Lyra that I know of is a star system. I don't recall if it's a constellation or a star system. I think it's a star system.
Okay.
And if it serves me right, that Pleiadians actually came from Lyra, that they once inhabited the Lyran star system, and they needed to leave because they had some problems on their world like we have here with thermonuclear war and people not getting along, and they needed to leave their world, and they went to the Pleiades and they took up station there. I've done some readings where that's what I got. Okay, so more than one reading where there is, that's what was going on, and so I go with it. So I don't know where Moldavite would come from. I can't make any connection to Lyra with it.
Okay.
I would think Moldavite might be formed by the impact of an asteroid on the Earth, and it fuses the glass like you were talking about.
Yep. Yeah.
Or it might be something that actually is a part of the asteroid to start with, and it hits the Earth and then it transforms into that glassy substance. Like it might not be that glassy substance to start with until it has the impact.
Right,
because that's where you get the heat. So I don't know, what to say more than that.
Yeah.
Now, I do have a piece of Moldavite, and the vibration of this is so high, that I don't carry it on me because it's just so high.
I know a lot of people feel that way too.
Yeah, it'd be like drinking 8 cups of coffee.
Yeah.
High test, and walking around all day like that.
Yeah.
It's like, this is, real high, like higher than quartz crystal. So
do you have that? Do you feel like that's has something to do with it, of it coming from
another world?
Yeah.
I just don't know.
But you feel it.
Yeah, the energy is really high. So I have a piece of this about the size of a quarter, and it's greenish. It's green, and it's lumpy, small lumpy spots on it. And so I keep it on my altar at home, my Native American altar.
Okay.
So a nice high vibration, it just sits there. With some other nice vibration things that I have, and my sacred pipe, and a number of things that really make my altar feel nice, gentle, peaceful, high vibration connection.
Yeah.
So I can sit in front of that altar and connect into the divine more easily, and the altar comes alive at times. That energy just increases to support me, and support my prayers, whatever they are, if it's
Right.
for the people, and then it'll calm down when I leave. So that's what I know about Moldavite.
Interesting. Another question we have, do personality traits have any indication to where maybe we originated from? So you mentioned you met someone that has the same
Oversoul.
oversoul. Do you feel like you were really similar type people? Other than feeling like, this upper connection with them, do you feel like personality traits or certain things have to do with that?
Can you expand a little bit on that question?
I imagine this person is asking, are there any similarities to where people are from?
Oh, and their personality traits, characteristics.
Like if you met someone
Right.
and
I get you.
you're so alike in so many ways, you feel really connected, is there a possibility that means that maybe you're from the same place?
I bet you there's probably something to that. You could probably say it would probably be, and this is conjecture, but I would think it would ring true. If somebody's from a warring world, like there are reptilians that still have that warring mentality, and they have their home world. And I've done readings where the client has their home world there. And in this life, this was a young man, and he was a nice young man. He was probably about 19, and this was a reading I did probably 20 years ago, actually. And got information about his home world, and then went through the reading with him while he sat with me, so he could experience his home world, experience his oversoul, experience what it was like there on his home world. We got a name for his higher self, and all these things would help him connect to his home world and understand what the heck is he doing on Earth, because he felt like a fish out of water.
Okay.
So his home world was reptilian, and it was like, okay, well, he seems like a real nice guy. What's going on? So on higher levels of consciousness, beings are of a divine nature, right? We all have our divine connection to God. The oversoul has the divine connection to Creator. The oversoul is energy, and I am getting to the answer. The oversoul's energy is like Big Bang occurs, right? All these consciousnesses are created. Some are angels; they don't want to be veiled, and then these consciousnesses, I'll call them oversouls.
Okay.
They have uniqueness and identity, free will and choice. Creator wants them to exist, to experience and express for God. God wants to better know itself. Let's have an experience. Let's just be and do and whatever. And then so when the oversoul wants to have offspring, the offspring come directly from the oversoul. And the aspects of consciousness of the offspring are part of the oversoul. They're never separated off.
Okay.
Just as the oversoul is never separated off from the Creator. It just has uniqueness and identity, free will and choice. Same aspects of consciousness as Creator. So there's that. It maintains the oneness concept, which is great.
Yeah.
So we all know we are divine beings at core, all of us.
Absolutely.
And everything that exists is. The divine essence, the brightest spirit of God is within us. And Jesus even said that. The kingdom of God is within, and God is love. So all of that's within us. So know that. And so he's a reptilian on his home world.
Yeah.
But he has that divine essence as his being.
Okay.
So he's just having an experience on his homeworld as reptilian. It doesn't make him lower in the eyes of God as a race that has this divine essence on their homeworld. that may sound really odd, but that's the way it's been taught to me is we can't judge the book by its cover. It has its purpose.
Yeah.
Maybe they're there because of the duality that's required in the physical world in order for us to all accomplish what we came into the physical world to do. Like this density that we live in might be, the duality is so high for us to experience what we want to experience as male, female, right? Separated, looks like we're separate. That you got to have good and bad for this reality to really function. I don't know. I think it might be something like that.
Okay.
So we can't judge what that looks like.
But we all stem from the same
divine. So those reptilians are divine at core, and they're playing a role. They're following their DNA and their genetics that tell them we are a warring race or we are aggressive.
Okay.
So why didn't he show traits of the aggressive nature? He came to Earth in order to experience the divine, the loving, to bring that back to the collective of his race to help them evolve.
Okay.
That's why he came to Earth. That was a big piece of why he came.
Mm-hmm.
Now, suppose there were beings here that were aggressive and negative, and we know there are human beings on the planet like that.
Yeah.
Well, it may be that that's their home world, is this reptilian world, right?
Okay.
And that's their nature. And they're bringing in the full kind of energy of what they're like on their home world. And so he may, like that aggressive warrior type being might find another person that's like that and go, oh, I really resonate with that guy. He's like me. And that other guy may be from the same warring world. So there you would find
those similarities. Got it.
Yeah. And if you're from a higher vibration world and that's what your soul path is to just be at that higher vibration in this lifetime anyway, and you meet people that are of like vibration, you know, it may be that they're from Sirius or they're from the Pleiades or Andromeda, you know, in a nice high vibration planet there. People do tend to gravitate into groups.
Okay.
And I've seen that. A number of people that I know, it's like, oh yeah, they're from Sirius or they're from Pleiades or somewhere in Andromeda, and that happens a lot.
Okay, so the person was on the right track.
The answer is yes. But there was a lot of good stuff in there.
There was, and we even got to the conclusion, got to the answer. Any questions? All right, so let's take one last one. This person is asking, is it true that blood type O comes from Anunnaki genes?
Oh my God, I have no idea.
That's an honest answer.
Anunnaki genes, wow. God, what an interesting question. You know, and there's even like R type or something. Have you ever heard of that?
A blood type R?
Yeah. Something that's very different. I have no experience in that.
Have you heard anything about type O blood in any extraterrestrial like indications or anything?
I haven't.
No.
Isn't O type one that can like donate to anybody?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And can donate to everyone, but not they can only receive from other type O.
Okay.
So they're givers, not receivers.
So that's rare for them then. They're going to find a type O.
That's my understanding.
Yeah. I'm not a type O. So.
I always have to ask my mom my blood type.
I know mine. Yeah.
All right. So if anyone didn't catch this live and you're watching it later, we were chatting before about setting up maybe a more regular conversation. If any of what we chatted about today piqued your interest and maybe you didn't get your questions in on time, either shoot us a message, send me an email, and we'll see if there is some interest in setting up maybe something in person, live like this, where this discussion can be between a group of very curious and interested people on the same discussion, and get your questions in live. So,
or have another sit down like this in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So if any of this piques your interest, let us know. It has once again been such a privilege and honor to have you here today.
Do we want to continue? Or
we can if you'd like. Sure.
I can run this as far as it works for you.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize.
No problem.
What else you got for us?
Yeah. Well, people often ask more about why are ETs here.
Okay.
We a lot of people have said, yeah, I believe they're here. There seems to be a lot of good evidence from these well-produced docudramas on TV, military-related, non-military-related, of ET ships coming in and UFOs, and people having crazy experiences with extraterrestrials. Why are they here? One is to help us with our evolution, because that's the direction we're going in, is waking up as a species. We could be way far ahead of where we are right now, but again, I said there are oppressive forces on the planet in both physical form with certain people, elites at high levels that want to control and dominate, the populace. And then there are ETs that would just as soon have their way on the planet, and they're not allowed to, but they do have a negative influence, and that can slow things down. Because they can influence governments and leaders.
Okay.
But for the main purpose for ETs being here is to help us in our evolution, help us to wake up to our natural state of being. We are divine beings at core, and we have home worlds, and we have a purpose on Earth that is not only just about Earth, but has a purpose that's affects the whole solar system and affects the whole universe.
Okay.
The whole galaxy and the whole universe. That's what I've heard, is that thoughts are things, they influence, and I think we've all, probably most folks who are, tuning in, probably can relate to this, where our thoughts do influence. And that's the teaching from many masters. Yeah. Is, hey, your thoughts do influence your reality. What you think about yourself is going to influence your body, what you manifest in your life. And I've seen that happen. And a lot of us have stories about that, where we think certain ways and we're attracting it and we want to create it, and then it manifests in ways that are very interesting, know. And we go, that's more than a coincidence, that happened. So here to help us, and there are many ways that they do that. Some people say, well, we see these ships flying around. What are they doing? Right. Yeah. What are they doing in Area 51? Why did they crash in Roswell? That was a problem in Roswell. They shouldn't have crashed. Obviously, it was an accident. But I think that the Roswell crash had to do with magnetic fields and the navigation. They had problems with navigation, and they ended up crashing. Okay. That's what my research intuitively has led me to. Yeah. So we see these ETs flying around ships. What are they doing? So. They can help us on a global level, and they can help us on a more individual level. So on the global level, they want to say, hey, wake up to the idea that we exist. Right. And that'll help raise your consciousness into beyond where you normally think. And it will help start spinning the wheels of your energy system that will raise you into higher levels of awareness and awakening. Yeah. So they'll show themselves like in 1952 or something, where all these balls of light were buzzing the Capitol, the U.S. Capitol. Remember that? That was front page, newspaper front page. All these balls of light that were flying around the Capitol. in Washington, D.C., like 52, I think it was, or 49 to 52, and their jet fighters get scrambled and chase them, and they just fly away, and then they come back the next weekend, you know? So, same thing, cat and mouse. Showing the nation, hey, we're here, right? The Billy Meyer case, I don't know how many folks are familiar with that, where the Pleiadians have come to Billy Meyer in Switzerland, a one-armed Swiss farmer, and let him videotape, take still photos of their ships, assess landing tracks. He's gotten metal samples from them, and he's had those assessed.
Wow.
And they show that at the time in the 70s or 80s when these were assessed, I think the 70s by Marcel Vogel from an IBM lab, he said, there's no way we could make this material in this piece of metal. We don't have the technology. The way all the elements and all are blended together. And there was the rare earth element thulium in that metal too. Where's that coming from? Billy Meyer is not going to be able to come up with that piece of metal. The Pleiadians gave it to him. They come. And sound analysis. These craft make these amazing sounds, and they let him, record it and get it analyzed. And
wow.
A sound analyst said this is just so complex. There's no way Billy Meyer, could have created these sounds. He doesn't have the technology.
They trusted him.
Yeah, and they would come in like 11-year cycles. So let the people see them on a global level through Billy Meyer. Photojournals, videotapes,
right.
Assessments by groups of people would come in that were experts and assess this ET visitation scenario. And then they come and they also help us, what else do? They help to stabilize the energies on the planet.
Okay.
Because humans are putting out tons of mental energy and emotional energy. It's destabilizing for the world. So they help to stabilize the energies. They monitor energies. They see what they are.
Okay.
They just plain out monitor the energies and keep track. Okay, what do we need to do next to help stabilize the energy, or just to know where is this energy going to go? And then they also help to awaken energies on the earth that are dormant. Right. And maybe they're helping mass consciousness energy awaken at the same time. I don't know, but I've experienced these things in readings that I've done, okay? So I'm having personal experience with these things I'm saying. And then they help us on a personal level. Like I had a craft go over my house when I was about 13 at night. Quiet, silent, had colored lights, went over the house. And I looked out the window, and it was an August night. The window's open. I'm like, what is that? There's no airports nearby. It didn't make any noise. Wasn't a helicopter. Wasn't a plane.
Yeah.
Where's it going to land? What is it? I don't know. But they were coming in probably to connect with me on some level.
Yeah.
So they do come into our lives on a personal level. It's in some way, maybe unseen, maybe seen. And I've been involved in Native American traditions for many decades, in Lakota traditions, and Grandpa Wallace Black Elk, who was a shaman, he passed away a number of years ago. I knew him. He's a great guy. He's fun. He would always just start talking to me about ETs when I'd be around him. I wouldn't ask him questions. He would just start talking about them.
Okay.
Because he knew that was my sole purpose kind of thing. He just started talking about ETs. And he would say, when he would give talks to the public, he said, I'm 19th generation Lakota. So many generations, like 10 generations on Pleiades and 9 generations on Earth. He would say that. So he's telling the audience, my lineage and my family goes back to the Pleiades. He would come right out and say that. So Grandpa felt that was important to say.
Yeah.
To let us know. So
raising the vibration of the community.
Individual levels. So the ETs help on global levels, local levels, awakening energies in a group, or they help on a personal level.
Yeah. By having discussions like this, I feel like is raising the vibration, raising the awareness, opening minds maybe.
Yeah, like they can guide me as to, hey, share this with the people.
Right, right.
And I have so many examples of experiences I could share. The Galactic Council, for example, people have often heard of that. Does it exist? Yes, it does. my experience is very much so that exists. It's a galactic council that helps with the management of the whole galaxy.
Interesting.
And I've connected in with them a number of times because they asked me to. They said, connect with us.
Mm-hmm.
And each time I do, really cool things happen. And so they're helping me become aware of, oh, wow, what do they do? And how big is their influence? And it is galactic. And, I connected in the other day, and the Pleiadians came in that particular experience real strong, and it was like, okay, I'm supposed to connect with them. And then I asked questions. I had questions for them, and had these experiences that were really helpful for me in understanding.
Yeah.
Like what's going on with our universe, and what about this symbiotic universe that's connected to ours? The Pleiadians call it the Dal universe, D-A-L. It's a symbiotically connected universe to ours. And a higher vibration, time shifted. What a concept. Another universe connected to ours.
Yeah.
I've always found there's truth to this in my intuitive exposure and in research that I've done. What do other people say about this idea of a symbiotic universe connected to ours? Yeah. Fascinating.
Very, very. We will have to pick up this discussion where we left off next time.
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming. Once again, I'll say, reach out if any of this piques your interest. If you ever want to have a discussion, maybe here again, or maybe even in person, feel free to reach out. We'll have Greg's cards up at the front counter if you ever want to stop by. Yes, we'll have those behind the counter. Just ask.
Yeah, so if folks would like a reading, you have things going on in your life, you want to know what's going on, I'd be happy to help. Can I give my email address?
We'll say we'll just have the cards up at the front counter.
Okay.
Yeah, or they, contact you through this.
Yeah.
If you want to give your email, you can give your email.
Okay. Greg, G-R-E-G, at Greg Martins, MARTINS.com.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So I'm open to helping folks.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Greg.
Thank you, Becca.
Of course. Come visit us today. Namaste.